Creation's journey to life. In this journey, the patterns that constitute what we have accepted as our reality will be deconstructed through self-forgiveness and reconstructed through a commitment of correction to that which is best for all life. Day 83, Character Charting to Discover Real Me. See all the blogs on the character. Day 78, Stepping Out of Character. Day 79, Stepping Out of Character with Loved Ones. Day 80, Creating a Character. Day 81, The Only Real Character. Day 82, The Reincarnation Characterization. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that memories are charts within which I can find the character I have chosen to be in the memory, to be in charge of the direction of the memory, according to the charge that I've loaded that character with, energetically, being the cause of the particular character to be either positive or negative or neutral, according to my own design, to face the problem of my existence through the solution I perceive to be valid as a character, creating, according to me, an answer to my own singular self-interested existence, disregarding all evidence the physical world produces to show that I am mistaken. Yet, because I am existing in my own mind map as a chart, as a character, alone as my creation, I cannot see the real reality that all life shares together. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that as my character, in each memory is a charge, loaded with my solution as to why the character is important. The world system is the combined character of all the world characters into the memory, like a government, education, health, and other systems where characters are in charge, loaded with a chart that characterizes the system, which serves the interest of the characters in charge, not realizing that when a system, as a memory, as a law, as it exists as the world system, does not serve all equally, it will cause endless harm to all those that do not benefit from the particular direction of the world system, law, and memory, and thus the laws of the world, as the memories of the characters that participate, indicates the nature of the characters that accepted the laws, utilizing exactly the same inner methodology of decision-making that is used in the inner human memory character, based on statistical data, influenced to protect the interest of the building blocks of the system, which in this case is the ownership of property in all its various forms, dominating all world systems, while life, which is the real, dominant, actual, irreplaceable value, is completely disregarded and in fact diminished to be only of value if it would profit ownership. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that leadership in the world system is characterized by the inner characters of the individual that is perpetuated through parenting and charted into every child born, according to the law of the land and the system accepted by individuals, causing the system of inequality that is pervasive in the world to be seemingly infinite, as the same patterns are repeatedly enforced through all means of communication as education, as acceptance, as allowance, with no actual compassion or empathy existing, but the characterized meanings of compassion and empathy that serve a system where capital is ownership in all its forms, while the real capital, as life, is treated in a way that no one ever would like to be treated. Yet because the character design of both the inner world of the human and the outer world of the human is equal to the self-interest of the power that is given through ownership, all feelings in every way end up being only supporting the survival instinct of the character, making the world a seeming working order, and those that own nothing have no power to change anything, but through violence, which is suppressed through the employment of characters that will do anything to survive, acting as armed forces and policing, justified through the fact that they are able to support their families, causing a seeming righteousness in their actions as apparently the have-nots are breaking the law of property and ownership, and thus their lives are worth nothing, and they must be culled and subdued, no matter how many die. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that through self-honesty, every memory can be charted and mapped to show and identify the main character that is and has been and will be the living decision maker as the human, and therefore we can predict the future within the current playout of laws and accepted natures, as we can measure the energy which will drive the decisions, whether it be level of fear or suppressed through a level of love, inevitably leading always to a repetition day by day, year by year, life by life, of the same abusive, lifeless system that exists only as knowledge in the books of history, teaching nothing, because the character that is learning is lifeless, and thus would only learn that which will keep it lifeless. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that those that pretend to be active in preserving human rights or the rights of other life forms are in fact useless in their approach, as they would still accept the characterization of the world system in its primary foundations. Thus, whatever change is being promoted by activism never challenges the real issues, as the activist is also just a character, looking for a purpose in a system of characterizations, being charged for movement through the polarization of the energy system that animates the memory through which the character lives and molds the physical world into the system with laws that protect the current characterizations of polarizations. For instance, as have and have-nots, as rich and poor, and yet, with self-honesty, if one in any way had a spark of life left, one could chart the exact path of life on Earth for humanity as a group, as well as down to earth each individual life character, to see that the level of stupidity that exists within the methodology of living as characters is of magnitude that will never make life on Earth, or peace on Earth, or happiness on Earth possible. As for one to have peace, another must be at war. For one to have happiness, another must suffer. For one to have a home, another must be homeless. As the system is designed on the premise that unless the human is forced to move as character, the human will not, out of the goodness of their heart, ever care equally for each other, as has been proven throughout all human history, with not even a single incident where any human action in any group has ever produced the slightest movement towards a world where life would be supported as the only true origin that makes anything possible that currently exists on Earth. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that if one dared to chart the nature of every memory that exists within the flesh and the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, one is going to find the real you as character and to your great dismay, you will find that all of it, in every way, is not the real life that you could be. And then one will realize that, for all time, one has produced themselves as these characters, charted into the living flesh as a chart of self, and a chart of the world that presents an apparent accepted life path, and that it will take all your time to, in fact, remove this chart as the characterization of oneself as life on Earth, to eventually end with that which is the life force that produces the opportunity to be able to characterize, which is the physical body that functions independently from all characterizations, yet is beyond the capacity of any characterization in any form to direct or understand, but through observation reduced to knowledge, unable to be equal and one with and as this miraculous producer of life as the physical body. And that unless one becomes one and equal as that which produces life, in fact, like the physical body, as the character it exists as one, as memory character, lost in a world of energy, will only exist as long as energy exists, which currently is produced by this very physical body, and therefore when the body dies, the character dies. What remains is the body, and obviously not the characters of self, because self has never been the body. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that Jesus gave an example through the breaking of the bread and the drinking of the wine, indicating that the body is what must be honored, and that the lifeblood of the body, which flows as an indication of the living being, is the elixir of life that should be understood and supported. Yet, as it is with the character of energy, this has completely been misconstrued into just another energy game, reducing the physical to a polarized memory, projected into the future of an apparent life after the death of the physical, making sure that self-realization on Earth became virtually impossible. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the real body of life on Earth is a physical, touchable, visible body that is in the face of each other all the time, which is understood in its basic need, yet not honored equally, as the mental memory characterizations are valued more than the real physical body that each exists as. And in spite of many deaths since the beginning of man's known history, no realization has taken place that will change the fate of man. And thus, we can say with certainty, man is always doomed by the mood of the charges that are charted into the characterizations as polarizations of energy, animating memory into beingness called consciousness, conning each other into energy highs and lows, while being busy all the time with a general genocide of every life form on a living planet, as blue from afar as the eye of the body of the universe. I commit myself to show that no human character appreciates or realizes that life on Earth is not dependent on the mind, but is subject to a healthy physical body, as is shown daily in millions of cases, that because mental characterization is accepted as the only way life can exist, reality is missed, even unto death. I commit myself to show that characters can be charted and mapped, which is the only true mind mapping, to establish how one conned yourself by becoming consciousness as an energetic resonance of presence occupying present time through this projected presence, pretending that this is a real as the now you exist as. In spite of the evidence of the extensive suffering of physical bodies right around the world, due to the laws and systems this mental presence, as the power of now, has imposed on life on Earth. I commit myself to show that all laws on Earth only ever serve mental characterizations of the con of consciousness, where the pursuit of happiness as an energetic high like a drug is that which drags down all life on Earth, to be only equal to a movie full of characters, playing out a thriller and a horror story as history keeps showing us as we create this history daily. Yet because that who is looking is only a character, life that is actually here is missed every day, breath by breath, which should be of great concern, because only life is eternal, while characters come and go in a blink of an eye of energy. I commit myself to show that Earth was created as a real living body from which all characters in the universe were placed to face the evil of character building and how it harms life, which is why the character would characterize harmony as the opposite of the harm of money, meaning that without money as the characterized tool of existence on Earth, harmony is impossible, as the body will not have the tools money buys, like food, housing, education, communication, and therefore without money, money cannot be prevented. I commit myself to show that the destiny of the universe as destiny universe is a specific planned intervention into the con of consciousness that manifested at the predetermined time, at which juncture characterization on Earth reached its pinnacle as the throne of ego, which will, as it has been already, come tumbling down and shatter into pieces, as the character is completely unable to in any way actually support real life on Earth, and thus a reminder, regardless, each one is responsible to find it within them to actually stop the addiction to energy and return to life on Earth, or live through the shattering of the mirror of illusion to find out that everything ever lived has only ever been a lie.